So ShadeX just launched. It is the world's first borrowing and lending protocol with privacy. So it's a part of your guys' DeFi suite of Shade Protocol on Secret Network. So you guys have ShadeSwap, the stablecoin Silk, and now the world's first encrypted money market that's going Omnichain, ShadeX. So I'm excited to talk about it.
Yes, that's a wonderful overview of Shade Protocol.
So give us the high-level overview, or get into more sort of why ShadeX.
Yeah, so why ShadeX? Crypto has a massive problem. We have literally billions and billions of dollars of liquidity right now parked in things like Aave and Compound. And right now you can go to a block explorer, or you can go to Dune Analytics, and you can see literally all of the details of every single individual position. So I can find, oh, there's a $25 million ETH position. They're taking, this exact type of loan. And if the price of an asset drops a certain amount, I can force liquidate that person. And this is actually like really absurd. In the real world, I don't know what people's mortgages are. I don't know what their credit score rating is. Like there's a degree of financial privacy that exists in the real world. And right now, crypto has completely lost the plot on that. We said, hey, like total transparency, it's this huge feature. And it definitely is. It's a feature when it's transparency for public goods, when it's transparency for protocols and like the macro stats tied to a protocol. But what if you could live in a world where there's privacy for individuals within this world of DeFi while having transparency for these public goods? And so that's the vision for ShadeX. Protect individual data, allow you to make the moves you want to make without the whole world being able to see what you're doing. So we're talking about encrypted lending, encrypted borrowing, and how much interest you've accrued. All these things are kept private. And we believe if we build this product right, we have a fundamental competitive advantage over any other money market that's ever been created, because we are literally the world's first to do this. And this was a 10 months of building out all of this infrastructure in the middle of the bear market when everyone was like, chasing meme coins. We're over here trying to change the fundamental reality of what DeFi should look like. So, and the final thing I'll say, separate from ShadeX and obviously how excited we are about the implications of this being a world's first, is we also are going to be bringing ShadeX Omnichain. So right now we're the launch today is going to be of course on Secret Network, but in the future we've already begun developing on a privacy preserving layer 2 tied to Ethereum. And so we're going to be bringing ShadeX to the TVL, to the largest users. We're going to be going to the demand, and we really want Shade to become known for being the data secure DeFi platform, the most data secure DeFi platform in all of crypto.
That is definitely cool. So I guess first of all, intro to who you are, and then talk about the Shade suite, and then this part, ShadeX.
Yes. So I'm Carter Wetzel. I've been in crypto since 2017. From 2017 to 2020, I wrote a book. During that 3 years of research, I really fell in love with stable coins and just DeFi in general, this like permissionless, unstoppable technology, and the efficiency of money transfer and trust transfer was just like, I gotta like jump into this stuff. And eventually I bumped into a project called Enigma, which was a privacy preserving layer 2, was going to be like a layer 2 before layer 2s are really a thing. And Enigma was actually like too early to that whole story and that technology. So eventually it became Secret Network. I actually wrote the gray paper for Secret Network. So I worked with the core team to like re-release a white paper that was accurate in relation to Secret Network architecture. For those of you who don't know what Secret Network is, it is a network where the privacy is achieved via hardware level encryption. So all the nodes on the network are running privacy inside of a hardware. Essentially, the decryption seed lives inside of an enclave that not even the validators can look inside of. And all the different nodes on the network are running this. So you have encrypted inputs that come in, it gets decrypted inside of the enclave, state is then updated, and then encrypted output is given and compared to all the other nodes on the network to maintain like the verifiability of the whole network. So hopped in there, started doing node running all over Cosmos with my other co-founder, Mohammed. And eventually we're like, man, we want to build some DeFi dApps. Like we're like doing this validating stuff, but we actually want to like build consumer apps that people can touch. And so then we ended up building Shade Protocol. We launched it was February 21st of 2022. So our 3-year anniversary has already happened, which is crazy, like so fun that we've achieved that milestone just over a week ago. And yeah, so we started building. And initially we were very inspired by Terra, which obviously that experiment ended terribly, but we wanted to build a stablecoin that could compete with UST because UST was totally transparent, which is going to be, if you want to onboard businesses for payments, if you want to do salaries, if you want to do contracts, like we're going to need privacy on chain for all of these things. So we wanted a stablecoin that was private. And then additionally, we wanted to be more creative than all of these dollar peg stablecoins. So much of crypto is just all of the liquidity is based around the dollar, which is a fundamental reality, but what if we could do better? And so we built an over-collateralized basket peg stablecoin called Silk, and we ended up launching that with ShadeSwap, and we launched that in 2023. So that was a big moment for us. Silk has outperformed the dollar by roughly 16% since inception over the course of 2 years. So not like meme coin moon money, but like it's actually like proving that it works, which we could have our own whole conversation about that. And now we want to add in encrypted lending and borrowing to this whole private economy that we're making here. We didn't just launch one app. We're building a whole ecosystem, and we want to recreate what Terra did, but we want to do it sustainably, and we want to do it with privacy. And honestly, it's been an awesome journey so far.
Very cool. So do you want to get into the money market side of things?
Yeah, I can walk through some of the features of like what ShadeX is bringing if that would be helpful.
Go for it.
So ShadeX is going to be, first and foremost, it's going to be cross margin. So this means that you can deposit multiple different types of collateral and borrow multiple different things from the various lending pools. So this gives you the flexibility to not get stuck with like, oh, I can only lock in one asset and I have to be managing multiple positions. It's all aggregated together in one convenient UI UX. So we're cross margin. The second piece of the puzzle that is unique is we also have encrypted flash loans. So today on chain, these flash loans on Ethereum, there's a whole game of people like MEV sniping each other when they're doing things. And so there's this whole economy of just like literally millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars of money that's been extracted by people. And there's a whole game of spending insane amounts of gas just to perform certain arbitrages on chain within a single block. So we have encrypted flash loans tied to the money market, which is going to help a lot of the arbitrage within this private DeFi ecosystem. And when people use those flash loans, you don't have to worry about getting sniped because the mempool is encrypted, right? So that's a super cool feature. Another one that I believe, I haven't found another money market that has natively integrated this into their money market, but other people have a loosely similar feature. But we have something called collateral swaps. So one thing that happens in a money market is like, let's say I put $1,000 of Bitcoin down and $1,000 of ETH as my collateral within my cross margin position. And then let's say I borrow a $500 loan. Now, there's a world where I suddenly become very bearish on Ethereum. And I want to modify my collateral, right? Right now, the vast majority of money markets, what you're forced to do is you're forced to withdraw the ETH from your position, which lowers your LTV, increases your liquidation risk, and then you go perform the swap and then quickly try to run back and push the collateral back in, right? And we thought, what if instead we have our own DEX? What if we natively integrated this whole process into a system where the DEX and the money market are both intelligently aware of each other, and we could actually do these collateral swaps in a single block. So you can seamlessly trade your collateral without have to you never have to remove it from the money market and take on additional liquidation risk or any of that. It's beautiful. So collateral swaps is another thing that we've added in. And now I'll jump to this is more of like a protocol profitability feature, but we've added in something called private liquidations. So in this world of total transparency, smart contracts are just passively sitting on the blockchain, right? They need like an external party to come in and trigger them in order for them to go and take an action, right? Within this passivity, it's really hard for protocols to monetize themselves. So I'll give you an example. Let's say a protocol wanted to capture value from liquidations, right? They want, like, the protocol wants to keep a cut of its own. It wants to be the one that initiates liquidations and keeps that value. The problem in this totally transparent world is, like, let's say the protocol wants to go and do this transaction. The person that triggers that transaction can just front run the swap. So like the protocol at the very beginning is like, oh, I'm going to be able to earn 10, 15% since me, the smart contract, wants to initiate this thing. But they need someone externally to trigger that action. And the person triggering it can just be like, oh, they're about to make this trade on, the protocol is about to make a swap on the DEX. I'm just going to flash loan and front run this thing and extract all the value. So then the profit margin for the protocol goes to zero. Like you can't make profit. Like a passive actor that's dependent on someone else triggering it cannot make money on Ethereum. It doesn't work. So this is why the privacy design space, like when people think about privacy, they're like, oh, like people are just trying to like hide transaction. I'm like, no. Like there's like economics here tied to monetization that privacy and encryption are fundamentally unlocking. So what private liquidations are is essentially external actors can, all they know is that there's a liquidation available, right? And they know if they trigger the transaction that they'll get some cut of that liquidation, right? Like we still need someone to trigger that passivity and make it take action and perform the liquidation. But they don't know which collateral is being liquidated. They don't know what user is being liquidated. And this is all happening essentially in an encrypted single block pool. So what that means is that Shade Protocol's private liquidations, we can essentially have the protocol capture its own liquidations. So I'll give you an example. Let's say we're talking about someone who put Bitcoin down as collateral and they borrowed ETH, right? Their position has entered a point where it's past the acceptable loan to value ratio, so we need to liquidate it in order to make sure the lenders stay solvent, right? Like that's how money markets fundamentally work. The protocol will take the Bitcoin, it will go to ShadeSwap, and it will swap the Bitcoin back for ETH. Return, and remember, this is all happening at a discount. So how money markets work is when liquidated collateral goes up for auction, it'll be like, hey, liquidator, here's a 10, 15% discount. If you can, give me the lent asset of my choice, I'll give you this collateral at a discount, right? And we kind of said, what if we could capture that whole discount for ourselves? And we can, because of this privacy. The protocol then swaps the Bitcoin for ETH, returns the ETH to the lender, and that whole 10, 15% discount that's traditionally given back to liquidators is actually fully kept by the protocol. This is the first time in crypto. No one's done this. This is literally like a profitability mechanism that's like the other day, we've seen large liquidations of $20, $30, $40, $50,000 tied to Silk before, right? All of that's captured by external liquidators. Imagine if all of that was captured by the protocol. Like the profitability is insane. So yeah, we have like these world's first private protocol-owned liquidations. It's also stream swapped too. So because ShadeSwap has really low liquidity, and like let's say there's a large liquidation, you can't. The slippage is too high, right? So you have to be able to like start chipping away. We also do partial liquidations. That's another like amazing feature of ShadeX. We don't just do some mass like shove you back. Like if we're gonna liquidate you the minimal amount, we have these like stream swap liquidations. So we're earning profitability from that. But then there's the risk of like, okay, assume the value of the collateral is dropping really fast. You're going to want to make sure that you get backup from the free market. So for this first like 1 to 2% liquidation range, only the protocol has access to perform these private liquidations. And then once it drops outside the range, now it becomes a public liquidation where like anyone can participate in the liquidation. So this is where we're kind of like, all right, we're putting aside protocol profitability. We're kind of like chipping away at it in this small range. And then once it hops outside of that, it's like come one, come all. Anyone can participate in the liquidation just like a traditional money market. So I'll pause there because I just dumped a lot on you and there's more to talk about. But that's kind of some high level features that I think are really exciting.
Very cool. I guess for sort of more DeFi native people, could you sort of describe a similar protocol like I love the secret network explanation, and it's like Monero plus Ethereum equals secret network. Like that was a great explanation. You're like, oh, okay. You have the privacy, the programmability. Could you sort of pick these features from multiple DeFi protocols and sort of explain ShadeX for us?
Yeah, I would say ShadeX is Aave plus Uniswap plus Monero. And so the reason I say that is with these protocol liquidations, the money market is tapping into the ShadeSwap liquidity pools as its fundamental base of liquidity for liquidations. It'd be like if Aave and Uniswap were on the same team, like literally same protocol, and they could have some like special relationships with each other. And if you added in privacy to the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. I guess now do you want to talk about the privacy part, about secret network, TEEs, that whole deal?
Yes. So right now in crypto, there's the privacy solution set. There's more and more options that are coming to the table. So I always want to preface this conversation by there is a range of trust assumptions and privacy that can be achieved. It's very common that I see privacy protocols battling each other over like, oh, like my privacy is better than your privacy. But I want to frame this whole conversation by saying some privacy is better than no privacy. So we're in a world where like 99% of crypto is completely transparent. And so really like the privacy protocols, we need to all be teaming up together to be talking about the value of encryption and privacy, right? So just setting the stage, whatever I say here in terms of like comparisons or critiques, privacy good. And I love every single builder that is participating, pushing the envelope as it pertains to that. So Secret Network uses trusted execution environments, Intel SGX. Intel hardware is used in Web 2 everywhere. Like billions and billions and billions of dollars is tied to TEEs, essentially as this encryption level hardware. And the whole trust assumption is that people that have the hardware aren't even able to look inside of this special enclave. The decryption seed sits inside the enclave. And what this allows for is we can have all these different encrypted outputs and inputs. And when they go inside the enclave, that is where the decryption happens. And that is where state is updated for the state of the whole blockchain. And then essentially gets spit out. And all the nodes on the network are like comparing their outputs to be like, yep, we're all getting the same exact output, just like a normal blockchain, right? Now, I would say there's some very common critiques, which is hardware level encryption tends to get cracked, I would say, to some degree, every couple of years. It's always kind of like a red team versus blue team, white hats versus black hats. And a lot of these hacks and breaks are happening in labs. Like you literally have like physics people in a lab like working on trying to break different pieces of the hardware. It's very, very, very low level attacks on a lot of this stuff. Andrew Miller has done a great job though, I think in the last couple of years, because I think in like 2022, 2021, TEs were like trust execution environments, they're bad privacy. Now things have started to evolve into like TEs are complementary, TEs are useful. Like some of that language is evolving. And so, yeah, we're built on top of TEs, and Secret Labs is doing a great job of continuing to like upgrade and improve the technology. But from our perspective, we want to expand beyond just trusted execution environments. Some other great technologies that are moving are fully homomorphic in encryption. And then another one that I'm most excited about, I would say, is like the zero knowledge proof based ecosystem, which things like Penumbra are using, is where we're going to be building ShadeX on top of not on top of Penumbra, I should say, on top of like zero knowledge proofs. And zero knowledge proofs essentially have verifiers and provers and logic circuits. And the way that whole system works is you can prove something like Carter owns 2 Bitcoin without revealing that it's Carter who owns the 2 Bitcoin. Like you can essentially prove a statement without revealing the person that's like proving the proof, I guess is the way I would say. So that is more of like a mathematically pure version of privacy. And so that's where like a lot of the critics of TEs are like, well, like fundamentally, like zero knowledge proofs are the future. And I actually agree with you. And I think eventually we're going to have blended privacy solutions, call it in like 5-10 years, where it's like, oh, I'm on a network that uses TEs plus zero knowledge proofs, or a network that's using FHE plus ZKs. Like it's all going to get blended together. And right now we're at that stage where everyone just kind of has like their purest single stack privacy solution. So that's my pitch on privacy, and it's privacy is a long-term battle. It's a battle that never ends. So things are going to get cracked, things are going to be broken, but can you adapt? Can you continue to upgrade it? And most importantly on Secret Network, if the privacy breaks, that doesn't mean consensus breaks. So you might be able to decrypt, some attacker could be like, oh, like Carter owns 2 Bitcoin, 1 ETH. But that doesn't mean he can move the Bitcoin from my wallet or move my ETH from the wallet. Like, it's purely just like a decryption of the state, which is terrible, right? But just there's some people are like, oh, if the decryption breaks, does like literally everything break? It's like, no, like the data security breaks, but the fundamental consensus of the ledger does not break.
Really good overview. I like how you talked about Enigma was originally on Ethereum, and then sort of because of constraints, you guys had your own, it turned into Secret Network with TEs, Intel SGX, and you guys were sort of in the TE camp, which is not as hot, but now it is pretty hot, surprisingly. Like, people are now more open than TEs. Could you talk about, I guess, you guys moving not back to Ethereum, but also going Omnichain and sort of to more solutions?
It's a wonderful question. So I think there's 2 sides of it. I think there's data security posture, and then I think there's like liquidity and usage. So we love Cosmos. We've built here for over 3 years at this point. I've been a participant all over the ecosystem. I'm also super pumped about the Skip team and the interchain, the kind of foundation, and like all the progress we're seeing within the Cosmos ecosystem. But if you look at where the users live, right now it's essentially Base, Solana, Optimism, Arbitrum, and like Ethereum mainnet. And granted, there's some like alt L1s that are starting to emerge as well. But from our perspective, we have like such good products here that if we see a Cosmos renaissance, we are primed and ready. So much of Cosmos has blown up and disappeared in the last year and a half. Every day it feels like, oh, new dead protocol, new dead protocol, new dead protocol. So from us, it's just like we're putting out a hedge to the effect of, we believe if we bring ShadeX closer to where the liquidity and the users are, I think we can easily see a much bigger and faster traction than the product suite solely living in Cosmos. And this isn't a new concept. Like, there are products like Uniswap exists on like 50 chains at this point. I don't even know what it is, right? So the era of being like, what I care about is serving consumers, protecting their data privacy, and giving them these decentralized financial services. I don't care where that consumer is. I am just going to go find you and go build the products and bring them to you. And we started in Cosmos. It was an incredible sandbox. And I think as we build elsewhere within this Omnichain expansion, it's going to take time to build those things. So Cosmos will probably always be the most mature version of Shade in terms of full product suite. It's like our home base. But we want to make sure to bring these incredible products to where the energy and consumers are at the end of the day.
I guess we talked about the money market and sort of the tech side. I sort of jumped into the tech. Is there anything else about the money market that we missed?
Oh, I would just say that it's definitely going to be supporting quite a few lendable and borrowable assets out of the gates. So all of your classic Cosmos assets that you're excited about will definitely be supported. This is another one. This is another fun one. So obviously, like a really key part, and I think Cosmos has struggled to do this well, and it's not as if Shade has done this well necessarily either, so it's something we're trying to improve on, is bootstrapping products, right? Traditionally, when money markets launch, they add in supply side incentives. So supply side incentives is like, okay, like I put my Bitcoin into a lending pool, even if there's no borrowers there, I'm still getting paid a yield, right? That's the carrot. Now, there's a problem with this. The problem is that there's 2 sides of the equation. There's borrowers and there's suppliers. When you have borrowers, that's the demand side, right? Borrowers are what actually create the sustainable organic market, where like a protocol can just take their hands off and you're just connecting 2 different counterparties, lenders and borrowers, right? and they can slowly but surely grow the product by itself. But if you only have supply side incentives, it doesn't guarantee you borrowers. It just guarantees that you have a bunch of supply here, and there's going to be some interest rate arbors that like, oh, I can borrow at 1% here and go lend it out at 8% over there, right? Like, so like there is some parity that comes even without having like a big set of borrowers. But what we're doing, and I think I've only seen one or two other protocols on Base do this, we're introducing both supply and borrow side incentives at launch. So we will pay you to borrow assets. Like we will pay borrowers to come and discover the product, because now we're solving both the supply and demand side. So as emissions drop off, there's actually like this genuine organic, well, I mean, it's incentivized, it's subsidized usage to come discover the product, but ideally those borrowers love the platform, continue to borrow, and now your suppliers are happy because they're like, oh, even though like emissions are dropping, I'm still earning great interest from everything that's happening here. We also have dynamic utilization rate, which is just like all standard classic stuff, where essentially like as utilization climbs, it's harder and harder for lenders to be able to withdraw from pool. And so the way you solve this is you want the interest rate to go up on the borrower to encourage them to pay what they borrowed back to the lending pool, so that there's more liquidity there, utilization drops, it's easier for lenders to like withdraw from the pool, right? That's the whole game. Higher utilization, higher interest rates essentially encourages more paying back of debt to increase the liquidity, to increase like the liquidity for people to go back. So I'll pause there. Those are two other things I would add into the equation.
Yeah, pretty good. I guess you think it's good time to wrap it up and call to action, or is there anything you want to add about? I feel like you covered it pretty well.
Yeah, I guess the call to action would be like, come check out the app.shadeprotocol.io. Say it one more time, app.shadeprotocol.io. You can find us on Twitter at shade_protocol. And like, please join the community. There's some like really, really cool privacy folks over here that like, even if you don't want to use the product, like just come for the vibes, come hang out in the Telegram, come hang out in the Discord. We'd love to get to know you. And yeah, come participate today in a world's first. Like, for the sake of DeFi history saying you use the world's first encrypted money market, like please come check it out.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Carter.
Appreciate your time, Diego.